Oh. 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 Oh dear. Uh. Season 4, race week 6, Texas GP. Alright. Alright. We're here, we're late. But it's great. Why is my microphone muted? Hey? Why does it not show me in the party? Our party's broken, perhaps. I don't know. You can hear me though, that's all that matters, isn't it? I hope parties aren't broken. But okay. Make sure... Oh, Jesus, that's loud. Happening, Piranha. Sorry, I'm late, pal. Alright. Okay. I guess we're going to find out together if parties are busted. Excuse me. Okay. Alright. Alright. We get any FM streams this summer? Absolutely not. FM's dog shit. Not interested in F1. What? If in F1, if that was the case, I wouldn't be here. FM's dog shit. No interest in it. UFC 6 will be the priority in the summer. And then, of course, in August, it will be Madden. Yeah, FM has died, mate, because it's just, let's be honest, it is absolutely fucking steaming arse. There's no other way to say it, whether it be the interface or the game in general. Just played it for like 3 or 4 days and thought, smells of shit, to be fair. And no one really is interested in playing it, I can't lie. It's FM is a game that you play when you're really, really bored. You got nothing else to do for the evening. I'm busy, I'm streaming in here, woman. There we go. I've got to wave people away. I've got my desk set up in front of the door so she can't even come in. I'm barricaded in. Hope Arteta burns. Yeah, well, you can watch him burn as we lift the trophy. You should come to the parade since you're a Tottenham fan, Dade. I'm sure you'll be loving it. Why am I in game chat? What is this? I'm not even in game chat. Now I'm muted. What the fuck is going on? Hello? There we go. Well, if anyone in the race just heard me, yeah. Cope and see if Sergio is... I think Sergio's around, but again, that's alright though. Yeah, I was worrying I was going to miss the quali here, purely because of the Arsenal game, but I haven't got any of the interesting facts and figures for you, or the information about the race. If we're riding solo tonight, then so be it. I'll do my best for you, but yeah, missed the qualifying. Vero Kieran, though, the king of the qualifying, of course, as per usual, 131.3. We've got Bobby Leons here. So Bobby Leons, has he got a full-time seat? Maybe looking likely to be the case. He's ahead of Louis Welch. Dude, I'm telling you, I think Bobby Leons is certainly someone that the kind of top boys have got to look out for now. Cry H23, which of course is Rye H23. Is there no Chizzy this evening? It does. Oh, there is. There he is. He's at the bottom. We never really often see Chizzy at the bottom of the grid. Louis Welch, though, very much taking it for 130.5, so putting his nuts on the table and letting Bobby Leons and Vero Kieran know as well. Hope Dom Parry crashes. Well, he has just retired from quali, so he's happy with his time. He's a good racer, though. If you had to put it into football terms, Alfie, he's like an old Wilfred Zaha. That's what he is. He could once upon a time do it and was once upon a time the best, and then he just got old. His reactions went. He's the Wilfred Zaha of the race grid. That's what he is. All right. Well, for now, we are pretty much ready and set to go in. So usually we give you like the kind of race updates, we know I can give you the standings updates and all that kind of stuff as these guys get themselves ready. As qualifying has just ended, as we said, so show you that quickly. Sergio is here, so I imagine Sergio probably jump in, maybe, hopefully, as quali is happening, or as the build-up is happening. Let's give you this build-up then quickly. Of course, please do not ready up until Michael gives you the go-aheads, as per usual. Don't be doing any of that naughtiness. Texas, though, today. Should be a fun one. I've said before, I've liked Texas the last couple of seasons we've done it. Some people love it, some people hate it, but I think that's just everything at this point, isn't it? Let's show you it then. Let's go for overall standings first and do a quick run-through as the drivers get themselves set up. And then, of course, the team standings. The team race, the team constructors is still absolutely an incredible race, to say the least, but we have to look at everything. We do. We're not off Reese in a while. I don't really talk to that group anymore, Alfie, to be honest with you. They do their own thing. I don't really interact with them a lot. There you go. So the drivers' standings looking like that. Kieran still, or Jesus, that's zoomed in. Kieran still very much high and above Chizzy. The two Red Bulls, though, second and third, Chizzy and Jamsey, 66 to 48. I mean, right now, you're looking at this with today and then 3 more races to go. Kieran's in a fantastic position, nearly 30 points clear. Shadow's Gunner as well has carried the weight for Ferrari. Sean Tiller's there as well in 7th. Louis Welch, Bobby Leons. I mean, what a team that is. Louis Welch and Bobby Leons. I mean, it may be a late push for a team constructors slot, but never say never. But yeah, Kieran in a great position. Again, just needs to make sure he finishes with the points today. If you can get a podium, fantastic. But keep extending that lead over Chizzy. There is a pressure on Chizzy, though, to start getting results. And the team constructors are a lot more close. Look at that. The Red Bull and the Aston Martin neck and neck. 5-point separation between Red Bull and Aston Martin right now. Ferrari, don't rule them out. It's a long gap. 87 to 114. It's a big gap, but it's an achievable gap. It is. It's an achievable gap. Only 27 points. You can get that in one good race. The Sauber, maybe on the outside looking in, but the question remains, who gets the team championship this season? Red Bull, Aston Martin, or Ferrari? The Ferrari have been a little bit underwhelming as of recent, but they have an opportunity here today in Texas to make things right. Devlin, happening as well. Good evening to you. So, for now, we are Sergio less. We have no Sergio. I think he's still streaming, so definitely have both streams up. So yeah, we will have both POVs effectively. But race week 6 out of 9 here this evening, and we're in the sunny state of Texas. Don't expect any rain, don't expect any tomfoolery. It's a pretty bog standard event here tonight. Yes, sir, it is. For now, we allow the drivers to set up themselves, get their stuff prepared. I think Michael has just whacked in the time at which we can go in. That is 10:13 p.m. So 10:13 p.m. It's a bit of a late start today. I think a lot of people, including myself, watching the Arsenal game at the end. But yeah, like I said, it's one of those. 7 minutes of extra time, referee. What are we playing at? That caused everyone to be a little bit late, but it's all right. You know, it's only a one-off. I'm still amazed I made it in time to see any of quali, I'll be honest. So thank you for Michael if he did stall the lobby for me. Appreciate you, Grand Supreme Leader. We'd love to see some Brum Brum racing. We do. What fuck that? Liam, sorry, man. I was watching the Burnley game. What? I didn't expect 7 minutes of added time. I didn't. But there you go. All right. Well, everyone's in the garage working on their cars here. Who will sub for me next week, Madden? I don't know. Why would I think about next week when we are dealing with this week, Beta? I don't know, and respectfully, nor yet do I care. It will be a weekend problem. That's what it will be. The 23rd is a long way away. You stink of shit at Alfie. He does. He does. But he's our stinky shitter. He is. Here we go then. The race up and underway. Texas. We missed all of qualifying. I ain't got the answers for you about what to look out for in this. Oh, there he is. There's our race man. There he is. Look at that. You timed that brilliantly. Just as the race starts, you pop into the party. Love that from you, Sergio. How are we?
Yeah, not bad. What about you?
Yeah, better after the 7 minutes of added time ended. I'll tell you that much. That's a relief. So, yeah, that's why I was late. Talk to me then about Texas. You saw most of the quali. What did you see from anybody in particular? Bobby Leon's looking like he's got a full-time seat now. effectively, but he's here today. He had another good qualification, but you talk about heavyweight 3 tonight, then of Welch, Kieran and Leons. It's almost like we've forgotten Chizzy exists, but he is here as well, and he is second in that championship standing at the minute in time. So give me your thoughts on quali and give me your thoughts on Texas as a track in general here tonight, Sergio.
Yeah, good track. Fairly wide, plenty of chances for battling and overtakes. It can be a bit of a handful through the S's though. You find yourself on the inside 1 second, on the outside the next second. So it can be a little bit of a struggle there. Definitely has some challenges to it, but nonetheless, hot temperatures. Tyres scrub a lot more. It does get a little slippery out there after a bit of time. So, what is there not to love?
That's fair. I mean, as well, the majority of the grid going with mediums. The weather conditions seem absolutely perfect, but are you surprised? Maybe not everybody's got on mediums. Chizzy, Lucas, Ryan Parker, Jamsey, Blazer Guns, and Reverse 19 all opting for hards to start with. I mean, do you like that? Are you bothered by that? What do you think?
No, I think it's a decent call. You can easily wear your tyres out around this circuit and scrub off a lot of the tread, and that's just due to how hot the surface temperature is. And when you're pushing the car through the S's, you do kind of need the thicker tyre to carry you on, and you can push it a little harder as well. But I think the hard tyre is obviously the safer option, and those that have gone on the medium tyre want to be a little more aggressive off from the start gates.
Well, Kemio just pointed that as well. We were talking just then about how, the big 3. We saw Kieran slip all the way down from a top 3 position now into 18th. So maybe lost grip of the car there. Something's happened, but yeah, Vera Kieran. Does he look like he's got any wing damage to you? You're you've got the eagle eye, Sergio, for if someone's car is completely knackered. Is he looking all right here so far?
Yeah, car looks okay. I don't see any damage there. A little bit of dirt, but that seems to be on every car at the moment because there's been dirt kicked up here, there and everywhere. But yeah, nothing major that I can spot on the car at the moment, but he's now going to need an absolute Max Verstappen-esque performance to work his way back up the timing tower.
Yeah, I mean, still 20 odd points clear of second place Chizzy in the Drivers' Championship, so he's got the ability to have a poor race and still survive it. Only race week 6, there's 9 in total this season, so again, I don't think there's no pressure on Kieran today to go and get the victory. I think there's a pressure on Kieran to get as close to the podium as humanly possible. So far though, Louis Welch and Bobby Leons, that could be the rivalry that we are seeing a lot of over the next few weeks. Bobby made this incredible debut just last week and effectively put his nuts on the table and said to Louis Welch, be prepared, I'm on my way, I'm the main rival now. And then of course you've got Dom Parry and Benchwarmer, who of course are still fighting valiantly, Sergio, to force their way into the team constructors conversation. They're not the Ferrari, they're not the Red Bull, but they are on the outside looking in. If they get a strong performance today, finish 3rd and 4th, for example, they may well like their chances of making a late push for that championship, for that title.
Yeah, certainly, and like I was saying during the qualifying as well, we're in that last third of the season now, so it really is crunch time for a lot of these drivers and a few teams as well. If they really want to challenge for that title, they do need an absolutely strong push here in the final part, because we're now not talking about the season being a marathon anymore. We are now in that sprint category. We're in that sprint phase where you've got to go all out and put it all out there on display and leave nothing. When you come back, you just got to leave it all on the circuit and have nothing left in the tank. And that's what some of these drivers I've seen so far racing tonight have done so far, just not only in qualifying but in the race, with their moves being a little more aggressive, because it just shows that it means that little bit more for the drivers now than what it did, around 1 or 2. Now that there's a real question into who's getting these titles, that's when people really do sort of up the aggression levels and up the ability as well. So we will start to see drivers, no doubt, really switch up and switch on as well.
A couple of time penalties coming in there. I agree with what you said there, and also I think it comes into what you said about this track last week. I think you hinted last week that you like this track, you like Texas, and tracks like it because it's a lot more wider. There's, it's not as narrow as some of the tracks that we've been to already this season, and that allows the drivers to be a little bit more expressive. Is it more tonight about patience and waiting for the driver, the man in front of you, to make a mistake, or is it more about race IQ and tactics and tomfoolery and shithousery and trying to get the overtake in a really aggressive manner? How would you approach this?
I think if I'm honest, I'm more on the shithousery level. To be completely honest with you, because if you let your opponent get in their groove and find their way through this circuit, it can be an easy circuit to. Once you've really got in your element and you found your rhythm around this circuit, it's easy to run away with it, and that's something that obviously Louis Welsh is doing at the minute and doing very well at that as well. So you've got to be a nuisance. You've got to stick your nose in places where it doesn't belong. So possibly going for a slight lunge up the inside line on a corner. That's not a problem. People aren't going to get aggressive at you, apart from obviously the driver defending. So just go for it. You need to be that little bit more aggressive than what you normally would, and stop them from getting too comfortable, because like I say, when you get comfortable around this circuit, being how wide it is as well, you can afford a couple of slight slips on mistakes, and you'll still be able to recover and maintain your position. So you need to force a few more of those errors and make sure they're a little bigger of just a small slip.
I agree massively as well. Welcome in, Tej. Hope you're having a fantastic evening. Congratulations on player of the tournament yesterday in the Gold Cup. One thing to kind of pick your brain on this, Sergio, I mean, what that map there, the bottom right corner, I mean, what sector are we saying is, I don't know, the danger zone? What is the sector that can kind of cause drivers the most issues, the point where maybe they get the most penalties, or the biggest risk of losing control or crashing? Is there an area like that in Texas, or is it so wide that kind of area doesn't exist?
Yeah, so there's two keen areas where that will come into effect. And that's where we have P13 going through at the minute. I'm focusing on Ryan Parker. He's going through the second lot of S's, which is towards the top right of the circuit. As you can see, the last couple of cars are going through that sector now, and that is, I would say tricky, but that would be a lie on paper. So it can be fairly straightforward. The only thing is you need to make sure you've nailed your lines. And as long as you nail your lines and your braking points, then yes, it is a fairly easy place to navigate through. But if you miss them by a fraction of a second, it costs you dearly, and it really does put your line off, and you find yourself having more off tracks than on tracks. And then the second part where it gets a bit tricky is where the main pack is going through at the minute. That's between the end of sector 2 and the start of sector 3. This area is where the tyres will scrub the most, and we do have technically a massive right-hander. Some people call it two corners, others call it a large right-hander, like a single corner. Either way, when you're going around there at high speed in hot temperatures in Texas with your tyres, screeching as you're trying to use all that downforce to carry you around the circuit, it does scrub away a lot of grip, and that is where some people might struggle if their tyres are getting old and they're pushing it around that corner. They might well slip out, not on purpose, but it is a common thing. You can just push the car a little too much to what it can do on the grip levels it has, and that's a corner where that could happen.
I would say, by the way, as we're speaking there, the penalty's now absolutely raining in, and there's a big one there as well, Sergio, because as well, Surtees has just also retired as well, I'm saying, but VRL Kieran, that's the big news. Had that incident at the beginning of the race, which saw him drop from 3rd down to 17th. He's in 13th. He still wants to ascend back up, but he is on a 3-second time penalty. Ryan Parker on 6, Lucas 7 on 6, as well as Blazer Guns and Reverse 19 on 3. So is this going to be the ultimate test then tonight for Kieran? We talked about maybe this poor start, this issue, or maybe the car spun, maybe he took a corner badly, something happened, but now also on top of that, he's got that 3-second penalty. It's still early days, only lap 6 out of 28. We know that he's 20-something points clear in the championship conversation. If you've had his start, Sergio, what would be, the way that you approach this? What is your advice to Kieran? Is it now just to kind of aim for a top 10 and get any points on the board, or are you still feeling optimistic that you can get a podium finish with so much of the race left?
So as it stands at the minute, it's damage limitation. You want to try and obviously get as high as you can, and like you say, get some crucial points. But it is a case of now you've just got to find that point, that rhythm of quali lap after quali lap. You need to make sure every lap is absolutely spotless, and really try and maximise the lap times as well. You want to try and bring this down as much as you possibly can, all while taking care of your own car. So as he's going around, as he's going up positions, it then becomes a question of, okay, if I can't do it all on circuit, what can I do with the pit stop? My pit stop will be crucial for Kieran today, because he will need a good stop and a good strategy as well. He might have to change from his original plans because he found himself towards the back at the start of the race, so he might now need to form an undercut, or possibly even obviously an overcut, the opposite. So it all depends on who comes in and when from the top half of the table. But I say Kieran could easily find himself in the points. It's just a question of how many is he going to walk away with tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's plenty of the race to go yet. We're not that close to the end at all, so he's got plenty of time. He just needs to keep a cool mind and keep pushing.
I'll tell you this much as well. I'll tell you who is keeping a cool mind, keeping it pushing, Sergio, is one of the greatest of all time, Louis Welch. It felt like last week. Of course, we don't speak to Welch. I've never spoken to him. I don't know what the bloke's voice sounds like, but I've seen instances on the FIFA pitch, on the Madden fields, on the NBA courts before where, you know, these no-names, these beginners, they come in like Bobby Leons and they show up, you know, the Michael Jordans, the Max Verstappens of the world, and that's exactly what Bobby Leons did. Came out of nowhere, stole Louis Welch's thunder, and kind of made his announcement to the league that he is here to stay. Tonight, though, I'll tell you this much, Louis Welch having an absolute field day, so far 3.5 seconds ahead of Bobby Leons, and that it feels like this is Louis Welch firing back at Bobby and saying, all right, young buck, you may have had a good race last week, but this is still the league that I absolutely tormented 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, and a big moment there for Kieran. I think that could have wrapped up part of his race, depending on how many positions he loses here. Just as you finished talking there, I think his rear spun up on the back end of turn 1 on the downhill section there, and he has lost a few positions, so he's down to P16 again. But yeah, going back to what you were saying, I think that the main thing this season as well is those drivers that have come in, they've all come in with the same sort of attack and mentality of, you know, slap the length on the table. This is what we're dealing with, boys. And guess what? We're not here to play. You know, they're coming in aggressive and they're here to win, and they're all showing that so far as well. Fantastic, not only qualifying but races from all of them so far. Okay, there's been some slip ups, but there's going to, for everyone, no matter what your name is. For example, Kieran tonight, you know, not had the ideal start, and potentially a slight commentator's curse for the second spin there, but nonetheless, you know, these mistakes do happen, and that happens to everyone. So it's good to see the names that, you know, we may not know or speak to that much really sort of prevail and show what they're made of.
Yeah, as well as his car struggles, we're watching Kieran right now as well. He's racked up another 3 seconds. He's on a 6-second penalty now, so I'm hoping we get to see Kieran persevere, but I mean, the odds, if you're a betting man, are maybe creeping higher and higher for him maybe having a DNF here tonight. Thank you so much to Vonnegy for the Tier 1. Von, good to see you're alive. I thought you had died. But no, you're alive, man. Hope everything's treating you well there on the West Coast. And glad to have you here with us tonight. Kieran has mentally tapped out. So this is the Kieran that we know and love. And tonight he says 6 seconds and wing damage. Too much for me. He had a free hit, Sergio, because like we said, he was 20 or 27 points clear of second position in the championship. So, do you mind that? If he is 20-odd points clear, this is now opportunity Chizzy. Chizzy can get points and can close the gap massively on him. And it's also probably a massive opportunity for the guys that are maybe really on the outside. If Louis Welch, for example, picks up a victory here today, if Bobby Leons picks up another one today, they may start to think, hang on a minute, you know, 4 races, it's still enough time for me to make a late charge for the championship. So, what do you think? Do you mind that from Kieran, or would you like to see him persevere?
If I'm in Kieran's shoes, I wouldn't have enjoyed sitting there and retiring. I get why you know. It's happened.
My God! Yeah, you may need to go on my stream and click that and have a look at what I've just seen there. I don't know what the hell happened there, but that's if that doesn't get reported, that would shock me to my core. That was quite naughty. I kind of half watched this. I didn't even see the initiation of it, but that was really bad. It's almost like a Jamsy just got kind of dragged to the side and slammed into the wall there. But yeah, that was not ideal. Sorry, that just completely took me by surprise. And Jamsy now is heading into the pits here. We'll see if he opts to continue, or if he is going to kind of mentally tap out here as well. And it does look like he's going to continue and change his tyres. I don't know if you managed to get that or see that on my side, but that was very... that seemed aggressive. I don't know who did it, but that was quite something, Sergio. Back to the race, though. Ryan Parker was something for now, 10th position. And, yeah, we've got a bit of a train going here. for now. Jamsey coming out on those fresh mediums and probably repairing the damage that he just had from being side slammed into the wall like Andre the Giant. That was bad. Like I said, I don't know if Jamsey triggered it or someone else is the perpetrator there, but that was a heavy thud into the wall, and that definitely can be understood as to why he had to pit there and change everything up. But what are you seeing around the grid, Sergio? I know you like to kind of keep your eye on the minnows at the kind of lower half of the grid. Are you seeing any fun battles down there? I see Dirty Hippo and Blazer Guns having a bit of a go around here.
Yeah, no, I'm just sticking with that battle at the moment. They're going a bit back and forth. The DRS train is helping them. At the minute, they're sort of just trading DRS for DRS. But like I say, you know, they're going through S-bends as well. One of them finds themselves on the inside, then the next second they're on the outside. So, yeah, it's a good battle to keep up with here. Apart from that, you kind of, in the bottom 10, you can go back towards Jamsey as well. Looking to form an attack at the moment. Just got his car actually on the overtake there. It looks like he was going to go spinning. But he managed to catch that quite nicely before he slammed into reverse. Lucas now at the session as well. And I believe that's a retirement in the pits from what I can see.
Yeah, I think he was another one that had a really tricky start. I think so we saw his car kind of go wayward at the beginning as well. So some of these early battles to like the opening 10 laps causing too much in terms of a recovery effort. And that's what so far Kieran, Lucas and Surtees have said. I mean, beyond that, though, no safety cars as yet, which is surprising as well. On top of that, Louis Welch and Dom Parry both pitted at the same time, as well as Shadows Gunners and Dirty Hippo, all of them coming out on fresh hards there. So what do you think is the thought process, Sergio? Can they carry those hards now to the end, 17 laps?
Yeah, as long as you time manage and look after them, and that is easier said than done, I know, but it is possible. Just going a little easier through the corners and, you know, accelerating when you're actually in a straight line rather than through the turning point of the circuit. So yeah, it's definitely doable, but you have to monitor it accordingly, and it's not always easy to keep in front of other cars while you're saving your tyres as well. So it depends on the strategies and the driver ability of these racers out there on how they're going to cope with that till the end of the race.
And I mean, as well, you know, we're only kind of approaching the halfway point of this race tonight. Who would you say out of the top drivers there's more pressure on? Is there pressure on Bobby to go and do a repeat what he did last week and have a back-to-back performance? Is there pressure on Chizzy because now Kieran's out the race and he's got an opportunity to really close the gap on the Drivers' Championship? Is there pressure on Dom Parry and Benchwarmer because, you know, as the Kick Sauber, they're in that 4th position of the Team Championship, the Team Constructors, and they're looking in. They're wanting to get closer to that. Is there pressure on everyone, or is there more pressure on one certain team or one certain driver for you tonight?
I think there's pressure on everyone in general. I have kept saying throughout the season I feel the pressure's all on Ferrari, and I feel that's kind of been let loose recently because we're now starting to see other teams really succeeding throughout the season in terms of consistent performances. So I think that pressure's a little more off of Ferrari, and I think focus has more switched to those teams with the constant finishes where they're all close together, you know, the consistent ones. I think though the pressure's more on those guys to maintain that and keep that going for the season, and that's the part where the pressure does come into play on performance as well. You know, if they've got that kind of thing on their mind, that does weigh on your mind when you're racing. You really got to make sure you do the right thing for the team at that point, if that's for the championship you're going for. If it's the individual one, then obviously you're not going to be too worried apart from anyone but yourself. Whereas the team one, you really do have to sort of put your thinking cap on and actually make the move that's better for the team. So
well, here's an interesting question for you. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah. No, that's right.
I was going to say, you know, you talk about that, you know, having to make that decision almost between personal glory and team glory. With the standings being the way that they are, 20 points in the Drivers' Championship and the Team Championship being the way it is, where it's kind of a battle between the top two and you've got the 3rd team kind of right out there and the 4th team outside looking in. At what point do you have to kind of change your perspective in the season from personal glory to team glory? Like, for example, if Dom Parry doesn't get in the podium tonight, do the Kick Sauber need to start thinking about, you know, less about winning races individually and more about both of them getting into the podium? Or do you think both can coincide with one and the other? Because I understand what you're saying, but I feel like it's such a tricky decision to make, or a tricky kind of thing to spot as to when to shift the focus from, individual orientation to team orientation.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and I think that those kind of decisions will be made tonight.
Yeah.
We are on obviously round 6 of 9. We're in the final third of the season now. So with those handful of races to go, I think it's now going to be a case where those sort of things are decided tonight. If someone feels that they're just outside of reach for the individual championship, then they might turn around to the team and be like, okay, look, I'm not going to win that this season. It's not a problem. Let's go away with some silverware though. Let's go for the teams. Or it could be the other way around. The team might be far off, but we're still potentially involved shout for the individuals. So that's when you're obviously going to shoot off on your own, and that might be where you still see the team play, and it'll more be each teammate giving one another sort of like a toe up the start straight.
Yeah.
So you could see little things like that towards the end of the season. It's not always common because it's obviously quite a difficult thing to do, that kind of teamwork as the race is going on, especially at the high-paced environment that obviously the VFL F1 League is. There's constant changing of positions. There's always something going on as well, whether it's chaos with someone in the wall or it's like retirees.
Yeah.
There's always stuff going on, and there's a lot to take in as a racer as well. And not only that, the F1 game is a quick-paced game. It's not your standard simulator. The cars I know are very quick anyway, but yeah, everything does seem to like flash past you. So it's going to be a lot to take in, and you may see the teamwork, and it'd be nice to see it, but it's not always that easy. Obviously, Ferrari gave us a good display last season. Are we going to have anyone doing it this season? I'm not entirely sure. But so far, obviously, the runners that I'll say look most worthy of those kind of challenges is probably the Kicksauber and the Haas. They are looking like the most at one team, shall we say, out there this evening. From what we've seen so far, where both drivers are pulling in more or less similar lap times to each other, and they're similar positions to each other on the circuit as well.
Does it surprise you as well, going into this conversation about individual glory in these battles? Halfway through Texas tonight, you've got Louis, who is 2.8 seconds behind Chizzy, and then Bobby, who is 9 seconds behind Louis. I mean, there's some gaps forming here between first, second, and third. Do you expect those to maintain because of the wide grid, or do you expect this to get a little bit more closer again, or does it purely depend on the safety car for you?
I would say it depends on the safety car, but I honestly don't think we're going to see one tonight.
I don't think so either. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think obviously we're down to 17 cars now as well. I think if you take that out of the mix and you just focus on those that are obviously on the circuit, I don't think they're close enough at the moment to each other to even warrant any sort of collision. Closest is CB and Laser Guns, but again, there's been clean battles out there, so I don't think the safety car is going to happen. It's very rare it does for us at the minute, especially on wider circuits. So it'll be interesting to see what does happen, but I think it's going to take more than the safety car to close these guys up now. It'll be pit stops either working well or in error.
I'll tell you something though, Chizzy's going to be doing a little fist pump there in his little driver's seat, Sergio, because you don't see that often. Louis Welch, 3-second time penalty. That is going to give Chizzy a really, really big cushion to maybe go out and win this race. And that is Vieira Kieran's worst nightmare. Had that horrific start. His wing was destroyed. He had that 6-second time penalty. He was forced to retire. Chizzy is right behind him in that Drivers' Championship. Louis Welch, if you're Kieran, you were hoping for Louis Welch. You were hoping for Bobby Leons, for Dom Parry to try and hold Chizzy up. Now, Chizzy not only has the lead currently, he's got a 3-second cushion on top of that. So really, really good stuff, considering as well Dom Parry is 12 seconds behind these two, Chizzy and Louis Welch. So, I mean, right now, barring a disaster, you've got to say that Chizzy, 16 laps in, is pretty much looking like the shoe-on favourite to win this tonight.
Yeah, certainly looking in the strongest position at the moment. But again, things can change. And, we have seen changes happen. But again, it comes down to mistakes if there's going to be any changes from now. But that lap time the time between the two cars has gone up, so it's definitely within Louis' hands potentially still. 1 second between Louis and Chizzy already, and they only just changed positions again. So you can't really write it off just yet, just based on that pace alone in the lap there between those two. So 1.2 seconds between them. And again, since I started talking about those two, it's gone up 0.2 of a second. So it really could change here, and it could fall back into Louis' hands. Now Chizzy's just got to do his best to stay as close to that car as possible, but he's just without DRS at the moment. He's just outside of that 1 second marker. So unfortunately, that's not going to go the way of him.
Do you think Chizzy may have made a mistake here in not pitting with the rest of them? Because that's the only thing I can maybe point at here and say that's the only potential downside. You know, you look at Louis, 5-lap-old hards, Dom, 5-lap-old hards, Bobby, 4-lap-old hards, Chizzy, 15-lap-old hards. Him and Blazer Guns, the only two on double-digit old lap tyres. I mean, could that be something that plays into the hands of Louis, where he says, I've got this 3-second time penalty, but I know he has to pit. I know he's going to be taking time in the pit. I can make this work. Do you think he feels in a confident position seeing that?
Yeah, I think confidence will be there. And I think, the older tyres are definitely going to feel a lot weaker at this point, and I think that's probably the reason for the lap time going up so much, because, you know, like I say, we're now looking at 2.3 seconds between those two cars, so that time penalty is nearly irrelevant at this point.
Yeah, it is.
So I think the older tyres are definitely showing that they're not very good around this circuit at the minute, and that point is being proved, especially through these long winding corners at high speed. It does cost these vehicles.
And there you go as well. Look at that 3.07 now, so the time penalty is effectively washed off, and you've got to be looking at this and saying, Chizzy, when do you pit and go onto medium? Because that's clearly what he's wanting to do. He's wanting to take those hards as long as he possibly can and then finish on those mediums. For now, though, the conversation away from the top two, Sergio, was more about who's going to get this podium spot. Dom Parry and Bobby Leon's having a bit of a battle here in third and fourth currently. Huge if Dom Parry and Benchwarmer can occupy third and fifth this evening, but easier said than done, as Bobby there makes an inside move but then loses the position once again to Dom Parry. Again, it's like, the master and the student here tonight, Dom Parry and Bobby. Dom's been involved in so many fantastic races and so many fantastic sequences, which is seeing him kind of claim victory. And tonight he's got this new kid on the block that really stuck it to Louis Welch last week, but that one's going to be a back and forth all night. Those two have been kind of switching positions, and I'll tell you what would be great right now, I think no doubt, would be if Benchwarmer can overtake Bobby and get some of that kind of team racing going that we saw from Ferrari last season, where maybe Bench plays the blocker in this duo. Excuse me, Christ. Oh, sorry, the dust from Texas kicked up into my nose there. Holy fuck. Wow. Hay fever in the summer here in America, unbelievable. Tiller and Shadow's Gunner as well. We haven't really talked too much about the Ferraris tonight, Sergio. 6th place and 8th place. Again, averagely consistent. They're not really looking like they're going to fall out of the top 10. You'd be amazed if they do. But they have to also be very realistic with the situation here. If the Kick Sauber, both of them finish above them tonight. Yes, granted, Benchwarmer has a bit of a monstrous penalty now, 6 seconds. But if those two Kick Saubers do finish above those two Ferraris, then the Kick Sauber may well find themselves on the back heel of the Ferrari. The Ferrari may end up finishing this season, if they can't have a consistent bit of form, 4th in this team championship, when I think so many people pip them to be in a title challenge in the top 2, so to speak.
Yeah, I think obviously it could change and go their way for the last couple of races, but they really do need some magnificent results, and they need Kick Sauber to drop off, which it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. So,
well, you just saw my stream there. There was a bit of a collision between Bobby Leons and I think it was Dom Parry, but definitely not enough for a safety car, but there was a bump and a spin out there, and that there has pushed Bobby Leons back into 5th place. The majority of the grid as well at this point, Sergio, nursing time penalties. 3 for Louis, 3 for Chizzy, so Louis there has effectively been bailed out by Chizzy collecting that time penalty. Benchwarmer on 6 seconds, CB on 3, Shadow Gunners on 3, Ryan Parker on 9, Man's Baptism on 9, Jamsy 3, CryH23 on 6, Blazer Guns on 12, Ghosted on 6, and Reverse 19 on 12. As Jamsy there has just, was it a crash or was it a retirement? It looks like it was a severe collision. So Rye H23 has been given a 10-second penalty. Did you see that one? I heard you go, ooh. So did you get a front seat of the death there, Sergio?
I certainly did. We had an onboard camera of the car that had the collision. So Jamsy was having an absolutely fantastic battle with Senor Tism, who's now in the pits at the moment, changing onto the mediums. But yeah, they were having a fantastic battle. It was looking really, really good. I was trying to get as much footage of the battle as I possibly could because it was looking a heated battle, but a friendly heated one. Yeah, things were looking good between those two. So I tried to get as much coverage as possible. We jumped on board with Jamsey in the Red Bull, and then going around that quick right-hander, the massive one in Sector 3, looks like a singular corner. Going through there, it's just lost it. The back ends have gone spinning him around, and unfortunately, as he's lost control of the car, he's just collected Rye H23, and unfortunately, that's not on 23 at all. That is just an unfortunate error of racing. I feel that the penalty is harsh. I get why it's been given. There is context to the games like, oh, must have crashed into another car on purpose. So they've given a penalty. But yeah, it's a very unfortunate for the Mercedes there, and really upsetting for obviously Jamsey, who was having a fantastic battle there with Tism.
You reckon Jamsey would be looking at that and saying this is a little bit of justice, perhaps, as it seems that Rye H has also been caused to retire because of that. A lot of lives being taken here in Texas tonight. It's a stand your ground state. It looks like people are getting shot left and right with the retirements. 6 retirements now, as we've got 8 laps remaining. And I think if you're one of those that's still out on the grid here, Sergio, especially if you haven't got a penalty, like either of the McLarens, you're looking at this and saying this is a great opportunity tonight to finish in the top 10 and get some points here.
Yeah, it's a fantastic opportunity because, I mean, there's only 4 cars outside of the points at the moment. Okay, Ghosted might be a bit far out of it, 44 seconds behind 13th, which, okay, that's probably not going to be doable in the last 8 laps. That's a massive push needed. But yeah, you look at Lisp, the Dirty Hippo, and even Blazer Guns as well. Blazer Guns have to do a little more hard work with that added on time penalty, but all of those are in for a shout of points. So yeah, it is definitely all to play for here, and it's a massive result for all those that are actually finishing the race as well.
The thing that I'm kind of sat here perplexed at is, and I'll give you my hypotheses on this, is we've had so many races, it feels like, in a row recently where they've been street circuits, they've been narrow tracks, and everyone has raced really, really professionally and efficiently. It seems like people have become conditioned to those narrow tracks, those street circuit tracks that we've had. Tonight, this is up there with the most this is the most retirements in a race this season, and it is the most penalties in a race this season. Do you put that down to perhaps there being so many narrow tracks that these guys have maybe become too familiar with narrow circuits, and now they can't, I don't know, find their rhythm, their momentum in a track like Texas, which is so wide?
Yeah, it could well be a difficult one, but also you've got to look at the tracks coming up. Like, there's one of the smallest tracks coming up on the F1 calendar. We're at Monaco, and it might be a case of we've been through quite a few street circuits, and yeah, they might have got a bit more used to that, and maybe seeing the freedom that you have on this circuit, they might have pushed it a bit further and been a bit more experimental, knowing that they're not going to hit a wall straight away if they go off. So it could be, I guess you'd class it as complacency. It could be a little bit of that, but yeah, I mean, it definitely is it's a struggle to acclimatise from different types of circuit when they are massively different as well from each other. So, I mean, to be fair, I have my hats off to anyone that can do it and does it well. So,
there you go. I've got a question for you here from Rye H, who was, of course, involved in that incident with Jamsey. He said, is it illegal, Sergio, to stop on track and upgrade from a virtual safety car to a full safety car? It is, right? Question mark. I'm not 100% sure, but think so anyway.
Is it illegal to stop on track and then upgrade from virtual to a
full safety
car? As in a driver to stop on track to force the change? I'm guessing that's what
I think
that
that's what he
is.
means. I think that's what he was trying to indicate.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I believe it is a legal thing, because when the virtual safety car's out, you have to respect the delta normally, and your delta is a controlled pace at a controlled speed.
He said, would I be allowed to do that or not? So he's inquiring.
Okay, would you be allowed to do it? If the delta is on your screen, it's asking you to respect the delta. You need to keep within that speed parameter. If not, you get penalised with a penalty. So I believe the game can actually stop you from doing that, and the way they stop you is by giving you a timed penalty. I can't remember what the delta speed's normally held at, but it's normally something sort of mediocre. It's not crazy fast, it's not terribly slow. It's sort of in the middle. And yeah, you're meant to maintain that speed, and you know when you're going over or underneath it, because then you have a timer countdown. If you're not back within the delta time within that period, then yeah, they penalise you. So don't get me wrong, it probably is possible, but you'd have to take a hefty penalty just to do that. At that point, it's probably not worth it.
There you go. He said I couldn't be asked getting penalised for Spain if it was against the rules anyway. C. Finch said this track is horrible to watch. Wow. And then Rye said couldn't be asked to get penalised for Spain if it was against the rules, so just took the retirement. So there you go. I think probably the wise decision as Michael there joins in on the penalty, and Bobby there, I've just come back onto him. Sergio has kind of had an incident and spun to the side. A lot of drivers. It's amazing because usually Texas and these wider, whip tracks are so, I would say, conservative. That's the best way to describe it, Sergio. Everyone's not really looking for the overtake. That people are more often kind of, using as much space as possible. But tonight it just seems like, put it this way, if it was raining, I could understand maybe some of these penalties and some of these retirements. But I don't really get it here tonight. It just seems like people have completely had their heads go, and I think Bobby Leon's there is the next man to join the death pit, retires in the pits, and that is his race done tonight. So race winner last week, but unable to match that this week. And right now it is purely, with 5 laps to go, Sergio, survival of the fittest. And I'm telling you, these McLarens, Dirty Hippo in particular, is going to be a big winner here tonight with if he can keep himself clean of all those penalties on the players above him. He could finish as high as 7th here if he plays his cards right.
Yeah, could be some monster results, to be fair, for these drivers, and almost a bit of pressure taken off their shoulders as well, because we're nearly at that point where it's a case of every car that finishes tonight finishes with points.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a big situation for a lot of these cars out there, and a big deal as well. Blazer Guns still has a lot of work to try and get into the points. Lift not so much, but that added penalty on does make it a little harder. And it might be a case of, well, they're both teammates, so they might have fun and fight it out, but it might be a case of they'll just leave it to Hippo and go from there.
There you go. It's what Rye's saying. Austin is a very boring track. I agree. Just not good for wheel to wheel. To which Jamsey, who was also nursing probably a severed leg after that incident that you saw on board, saying it's a dead track. Honestly, it's so dry. But I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Not all the tracks are going to be fan favourites, Sergio, and that's where winners in a season shine in these tracks that so many drivers hate, dislike, use the word, whatever you want to use it, however strong you want to use it, but that's where maybe guys like a Chizzy or a Dom Parry are going to go and win the championship in times like tonight, where so many drivers are just struggling to either A, keep focus, or B, keep their composure.
Yeah, and I think composure it's a difficult thing to keep hold of, especially seeing as complacency can be a massive thing in racing, and especially in a game like F1 as well. It can get a bit tedious, shall we say, for drivers on the game, because it does feel like a constant repetition of the same thing. But in races like this, it's difficult to keep your concentration as well, because if you find yourself in a space where there's no cars around you, for example, like your Louis Welch at the moment, it's difficult to keep going lap after lap of your quickest qualifying lap times. Things may fall off ever so slightly. It's easy to regain that again and put yourself back up there, but it's very easy to slip away from that mentality, and sort of like your head falls out of the game in a way.
Yeah, I think I can sympathise with people, because again, it's one of those. You've seen it early on. I mean, 8 laps in, I pointed it to you. There was a gap forming between first and second and third, and you do seemingly have that happen at times on these wider tracks and these more kind of whip-orientated tracks, where you can almost, I think what's the best way to say it, Sergio, you can get stuck in the mud. Sometimes you can start the race in 7th, and you just can't get an overtake, and you can't be overtaken, and it is very monotonous. And like I said, though, I think that monotony of tracks like this, it shows you who is true caliber for the championship in general, because not every race is going to be this kind of high octane gung ho type thing that we all want to see. You know, we all want to see, you know, a sequel of Fast and Furious. We all want to see Dom, you know, Vin Diesel and Paul Walker, you know, pulling out the overtakes and drifting around the corners. But sometimes it just doesn't work like that. You know, it's a very much more, I think, focus-orientated track. And I think tonight the 13 remaining on the grid have done a fantastic job in keeping that focus, especially Dom Parry, Tiller, and Dirty Hippo, the only 3 that are walking away so far without penalties. And again, a reminder of the penalties for you. There they are on screen: 6.36, 9.369, 3.15, and a whopping 22 seconds there for Ghosted T95. I mean, early days, we saw a couple of good battles, Sergio, but 26 laps in now, I feel like it's a safe point for me to ask you, who have you been impressed by in this kind of remaining portion of the grid tonight? We've had a lot of retirements, yes, but has any driver in particular, high or low, caught your eye in terms of, you know, impressing you and just doing everything right, doing everything correct?
Yeah, I'd say Ryan Parker, if I'm honest. Ryan Parker, consistent pace. All right, 9-second time penalty up there as well. But overall consistency has been key for Ryan, and making another overtake there, as we talk about him in a minute. But yeah, he's done a good job here this evening, and to be fair, the top 5 finish is very strong. And obviously that's an on-track position change. Potentially it's going to happen at the end of the race as well due to the penalty from him and Dom Parry. But yeah, consistent overall the entire race with everything that's been going on, both at the top of the tower and at the rear of the tower. But yeah, I think overall just a good performance.
Is it a missed opportunity, in your opinion, for Dom Parry and Tiller? Those two also, no penalties, but not been able to kind of gain any positions. Will they look back at this tonight and maybe rue their performance, or are we being too harsh there?
No, I don't think they'll look back on it in that aspect. I think they may look at it and maybe at the end of the season and think that, but straight away after the race, I don't think that'll be the case. I think it'll be more focusing on what's next and what's to come, because the crucial thing now will be to always to look forward, not to look back and reflect on the negatives, because you know we are now at that point where you need everything you can get to go your way to get that title, get that goal that you want at, you know, the start of the season. So yeah, I think now for these drivers it is a case of looking forward, and if they want to look back and reflect because they feel they're going to improve that way, and so be it. But for other drivers like myself, I prefer to just that race is now finished with. I've seen the checkered flag, let's focus on the next one, let's get some practice in.
There you go. If you're interested as well, because I know you love the angles, Jamsy's put his point of view in to the GP1 general of the incident between him and Rye, so that's there as well. But lap 27 going into lap 28, as it looks like Louis Welch tonight is going to take back his crown as a race winner. Chizzy has pretty much kept it close, but I mean, when you talk about 24 seconds behind, what is the meaning of the word? For now, Dom Parry still got some work to do if he wants to maybe steal 4 from Ryan Parker, but I've got to agree with you. I think Ryan Parker's had a very, very good race today. I think he's been, of course, aided and benefited by the maybe the bit of head loss we've seen on the track and on the grid. I think if you're VRL Kieran, with how early you retired tonight, you're looking at everyone else. Because that's the thing, hindsight, you talk about looking forward rather than looking backwards. Surely VRL Kieran's got to be a little bit miffed at himself here, because if he just hung on, if he just persevered, there's no way he'd be finishing 13th. He would have absolutely been in the points tonight, Sergio.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I feel like he would be in the points, and even if it's just a singular point, you know, that point could be the deciding one at the end of the season. So, yeah, they definitely all matter, and yeah, I think could well be kicking himself after that earlier retirement. But these things happen, and like you say, you know, you can't really predict that was going to happen at that point when he retired. It did look like one of those races where it's going to be so stable, we're not even going to see a yellow flag. And look, that changed massively. So, and all it took is for one mistake, and unfortunately we saw that, and it changed.
Yeah, true that indeed. For now, though, I think, listen, Louis Welch is going to be delighted as always. I think Chizzy will, of course, be maybe not delighted, but ecstatic that he's finished second tonight. That closes the gap between him and VRL Kieran massively. It makes an exciting kind of final 3 races of the season. Benchwarmer and Dom Parry, I think, are going to be happy with their position as well, 3rd and 4th. that's going to be good points for the Kick Sauber. And of course, I think again the Ferrari. I said it, maybe it's a bit harsh, but consistently average, and that consistent averageness will help them again tonight in regards to closing the gap in the team constructor standings. You get a reminder: Red Bull 114, Aston Martin 109, Ferrari 87, Sauber 69 before tonight. So huge, especially considering we didn't see both Red Bulls finish, only one finished. So yeah, I think a positive night for various different storylines going into next week. But there is your confirmation: Louis Welch, tonight's race winner, and he does it with a monstrous, Sergio, 25-second lead over Chizzy.
Yeah, a massive lead there, and obviously penalties are relevant as well for those two. So fantastic results there, and yeah, it's going to be one of those things where Kieran might look back at this, but at the same time, Louis now kind of, tails up, and it's a case of, well, I can take the whole thing here if I really wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now it's going to be the push towards the end and seeing what happens.
There you go, confirmation as well there. Dom Parry taking the podium spot, and there you go, Kick Sauber do indeed tonight finish 3rd and 4th. So I think, all said and done, Dom Parry and Benchwarm are going to be quite happy with themselves here this evening. And Ferrari, there, Tiller finishing in 5th, and Shadow's going to finishing in 8th, CB finishing in 7th. A really good race tonight from Ryan Parker, takes 6th position. Dirty Hippo in the end also finishes 8th position because of those penalties on Shadow's gunner. So the McLaren, two McLaren drivers tonight, both finishing, both getting points. They too will class that one as a successful evening. A successful evening in what felt like a mania of head loss for so many different reasons, whether it be early lap disasters or incidents or just the width of the track and people not being able to kind of acclimatise to that after so many narrow tracks in recent weeks. For now though, Louis Welch, it's interesting. He's got a bit of a decision to make. Does he now just stick with it for the next 3 or 4 weeks and say, I'm here, I've got points, I'm on the cusp of winning the championship. When in Rome, let's do it. Or does he step aside again and say, it's not for me? I guess we have to wait and see what Michael says on that. Reality is, though, next week we go to, I think, one that people have been very excited for, that from what I've seen in the general, Sergio. Week 7, we're in Spain. How different is Spain going to be to Texas tonight?
Yeah, it's a lot more. So it's very different to this circuit. It is more demanding, but it does have similar characteristics as well to Texas, where there are some longer corners which need more downforce and do scrub a lot of your tyres away. But also it does have those sharp turns as well. Also a hot surface temperature, but it's a European circuit, which means there's added challenges on top of what you normally see at the American circuits, which tend to be a little more flat and sometimes more forgiving, whereas the European ones are a little more deadly as well. So it'd be interesting to see how these drivers do attack that come next week.
There you go, and just a simple one word from Louis Welch in my chat there, Sergio: redemption. So, I mean, listen, I can understand that he had a point to prove after Bobby Leons came out of nowhere last week and put on a masterclass. But like I said, one of the greatest of all time for a reason is Louis, and showed that again here tonight. Fellas, make sure you remember any incidents, because we did see a couple, that one with Jamsey and Rye. If there was anything tonight that you were unhappy with, submit it in that stewards area. Michael will give it a review and we'll evaluate everything. I think there's usually a 24-hour time limit, so please get that in. We are coming in, we are closing on the end now. Race week 7 of 9 next Monday, and we are headed to Spain, which a lot of people have had a quiet buzz about. There's a lot of interest and a lot of intrigue about Spain. Could that be the penultimate track that maybe decides the championship, that sets the tone for an incredible last couple of weeks? Who knows, but we will be there next Monday, 9:30 p.m. as always. Sergio, any closing thoughts here on tonight's race? Anything you want to say before we sign off here?
Just unlucky to those drivers that are either retired or forced to retire early in the race, and congratulations to those that finished the last 13, and well done for all the points.
There you go. Sergio, a pleasure as always. Thank you so much for being our race nerd. I like to call you that, but you're our race nerd. You're our race analyst, and again, appreciate you kind of covering the quali for me as I was watching Arsenal defend for their lives against Burnley in the 97th minute. Fantastic. Kovac saying Dom Parry Ultras. He's got a strong fan base, this Dom, and they've done very well tonight, finishing 3rd and 4th at the Kick Sauber. Fellas, thank you so much for being here. Take care, take it easy, and we'll see you next Monday for more F1 in Spain. Take care. Good night.